Hey there, this is Ill Factor from beatacademy.com. In this video, I want to walk you through using a vocoder on lead vocals. This is a great way to add some lush atmospheric vibes to any vocals in your project. And before we do, I just want to remind you that I have a free gift for you for watching this video. I've put together a sample pack from some of my projects over the past year, including construction kits, loops, one-hits, percussion, transition effects, all 100% royalty free, meaning that you can use them on your projects right away. Just click the link below in the description box and download your sample pack absolutely free. Alright, so let's dive right in. So I previously made a video reproducing Zedd's The Middle, and a big part of that song is the vocoded vocals, which I didn't get a chance to actually highlight and feature in that remake video. So I've been getting a lot of requests as to how are those vocals sounding in that particular way. And I also came across Taylor Swift's recent single, Delicate, which also starts with a vocoded lead vocal in the intro of the song. So I want to walk you through some of the basic steps of accomplishing that same type of sound. So here we have a lead vocal.
With you, it's like the rules are always changing, and it ruins how I see the end.
So let's go ahead and affect this lead vocal with the vocoder. Let's go to our audio effects folder here in Ableton Live, scroll down and choose the vocoder plugin. Simply click, drag and drop that onto the vocal, and now just play the vocal. Well, if you want it to sound like an army of dying cats, that's what you would need to do. And the reason we're getting that effect is because the vocoder is set to noise as its carrier signal. So we need to use something else to trigger the vocoder. In this case, we're going to go ahead and use Ableton Live's analog. So we'll go to Instruments and we'll drag and drop an analog. Now, it doesn't necessarily need to be an analog. You can have any third-party synth or another track actually be the signal that will trigger the vocoder. But in this case, I want to be able to play certain chords and harmonize with the lead vocal. So I'm going to do that using the analog. After we have the analog there in our project, head back to the vocoder and simply choose the analog as our new carrier signal. So underneath carrier, let's go from noise to external, and we're going to choose, in this case, the analog. So now the analog will be triggering the vocoder. So whatever notes and chords you play on the analog, those are the notes that are going to modulate the vocoder that the lead vocal is being processed. So let's just play a chord and see what it sounds like. Well, what we should do is mute the analog track. That way we won't hear the actual analog synth and we'll only hear the vocoded signal. Cool. So you have to keep in mind that however you shape or the actual tone of the signal source, meaning in this case the analog, will affect the actual overall tone of the vocoder. So I went ahead and put some chords down so we can shape the tone of our analog. So let's go ahead and play the analog. So we have two oscillators here, both set to sawtooth, and you can feel free to experiment to shape however tone you'd like, square or sawtooth, or if you have a synth with different wavetables, you can really experiment and get really unique textures and sounds. So for right now, I'll leave it both at sawtooth. I'm going to go to oscillator 1, and we're going to head over to the sub oscillator section. I'm going to increase that because I want to add a lower octave to that. It gives a nice body to the overall tone. And we'll go to the noise oscillator, click that on, and just add some white noise to this as well. And maybe just bring the filter frequency down a little bit. And the resonance just a little bit. Alright, and then we'll go ahead and add some stereo depth by turning on the unison. Maybe lower the noise a little bit. We can detune. Okay, You can also add effects on top of after the analog, and that'll also affect the vocoder signal as well. So let's go ahead and mute our analog track and listen to our lead vocals being processed with the vocoder having the analog triggering the vocoder. Now, one thing I'd like to do, and this is just part of my personal workflow, is I would like to duplicate the actual lead vocal or just create another audio track with the same vocal part in it. In this case, I'll duplicate this vocal, and what we're going to do is we'll have the top lead vocal without the vocoder and the bottom one with the vocoder on it just set to 100% wet. So let's just put here vocal vox, and then make sure that the vocoder is set to 100% wet on that one. Go to the first lead vocal and just remove the vocoder. So now it's easier for me to balance the blend between the vocoded voice and the dry voice.
With you, it's like the rules are always changing, and it ruins how I see the end.
I can also run that vocoded vox through some of my sends, such as my delays, reverb, and things like that. So I like having it set up this way. Now, once I have it set up, we can now go ahead and do a little bit of tweaking to the vocoded voice so that the blend and the texture is really complementing the lead vocal well. So we can mess around with some of the release, and the more release I have on the vocoder, the longer the notes will play after they've actually been triggering, after they trigger the vocal.
With you, it's like the rules are always changing, and it ruins how I
So I like to keep it short so it just actually feels right in line with the actual vocal performance.
With you, it's like the rules are always changing, and it ruins how I see.
Now let's go ahead and mess around a little bit with the format.
With you, it's like the rules are always changing. With you, it's like the rules are...
So it sounds like the pitch is being shifted, but it really is just shifting the filter bank up or down. And so I want to leave it right in the middle for this one. Sometimes I'll mess around and might lower the format a little bit. And then let's go ahead and mess around with the depth and see what kind of processing that does to the vocals.
With you, it's like the rules are always changing, and it ruins how I see the end.
When you crank the depth a little bit more to the right, when you give more percentage, it almost hid the vocoder, so to speak. It kind of tucked it behind the lead vocal, and I kind of like that effect, but maybe not so much. Let me go the opposite direction and see what that does.
With you, it's like the rules are always changing, and it ruins how I see.
And you can see how when you decrease the depth, the vocoded signal actually becomes more present. So I like it being tucked behind the lead vocal a little bit more, so I'll increase the depth a little bit.
With you, it's like the rules are always changing, and it ruins how I see the end.
It's great. It's almost like I want it to be felt and not necessarily heard so much. So I'll use an EQ after the vocoder just to kind of just take away any of that high end and make it a little bit more warmer and have the vocoder sit a little farther back in the mix.
With you, it's like the rules are always changing, and it ruins how I see the end. And it's about to be a rude awakening.
And now what I'll do is add a chorus between the vocoder and the EQ. So we're just going to give a little bit more stereo depth by adding this chorus in there.
With you, it's like the rules are always changing, and it ruins how I see the end. And it's about to be a rude awakening, but at least it won't keep happening.
Now obviously we have this section here in the middle which displays the vocoder bands. And so you can change the amount of bands that the vocoder will be using to modulate the actual vocals. Think of it as pixels for pictures, right? So the more pixels you have, the better and higher resolution the photo becomes. So with more bands, the more frequencies you can fit in the range. So let's try 40.
With you, it's like the rules are always changing.
So it feels a little bit more natural. And then when you lower it down, let's say down to just 8 or 4.
With you, it's like the rules are always changing, and it ruins how I see the end.
It's just, that's all you get. You're trying to squeeze all those frequencies within 4 bands. So you can go ahead and mess around with the different bands and the amount of bands to get in the right texture that you would like, that fits best for your projects. I kind of like the more natural and smoother approach, so I might go over to 28.
With you, it's like the rules are always changing, and it ruins how I see the end.
So I hope this video was helpful for you in shedding a little bit of light on using vocoders on vocals. And I want to encourage you to not just use it on vocals, but anything in your projects. Now, as my gift to you for watching this video, I'd love to send you a sample pack filled with construction kits, loops, one-shots, transition effects, all royalty free, so you can use it in your projects right away. And this is 100% free. Just click the link below in the description box, or you can visit www.beatacademy.com/pack. Download this sample pack absolutely free today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.